Hello, hello, hello. What's happening, folks? Today I have Abhi Balijepalli with me. He's the co-founder of Platter and Copycat. He has been in the startup world and AI world for some time. So we're gonna learn a lot about those industries. And without further ado, let's get started. Thanks a lot for joining the show, Abhi.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Let's start with your introduction. Would you mind giving audience your background a little bit?
Yeah, so I went to school in Oregon. I went to Oregon State. I got a computer science degree. After I graduated, I worked at a video conferencing company called Zoom for a while. And I had quit Zoom. I had started Platter with my friends for about a year. We bootstrapped the company, grew it to 100K ARR, and now we're building Copycat.
That's awesome, man. Let's talk about Platter. What exactly is Platter?
Yeah, so Platter is a way for restaurants to have a brand online. So a lot of restaurants that want to do online ordering, they end up going with the classic DoorDash, Uber, Grubhub, or they build their own website by hiring a freelance developer. Uh, but a lot of times, it's both sides of that equation are pretty weighed against them. So restaurants like that use DoorDash, Uber, and Grubhub end up having to deal with just complicated support, terrible onboarding, and worst of all, 30% commissions on every order. And with the profit margin of already restaurants, which is like 1 to 2% sometimes, they actually end up taking a loss or just have it cost profit. And on the other side, when they build their own website, it's hard to maintain it. Sometimes developers are hard to get a hold of, they're expensive, and the reasons go on and on. So what Platter does is kind of bridges the gap between both. We built a way where restaurants can just upload their menu, and within 2 minutes, they get a free website for online ordering. In a week, they get an iPad shipped to the restaurant so they can receive orders. And at the same time, apps are being deployed on the iOS and app stores for their brand and for their restaurant. We have a few restaurants here in Seattle, so if you're interested, you can go check them out. So
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty cool idea. How did you guys come up with the idea?
yeah, so it's with two other guys that I had built this with, and one of them had a family friend who owned a restaurant, and he wanted just an app to download so people can download and order online, and he didn't want DoorDash and Uber and all that stuff. And the restaurant's only open once a week, so he had built this app for them, and then he started seeing these orders come in once a month, like it'd be like maybe 100 orders a month, and he's like, okay, this is kind of cool, so maybe there's something here. So he had reached out to me and my other friend Graham, and he's like, guys, what if we just did this for fun? We just build apps and websites for restaurants that want online ordering. And we kind of started out there. And the first restaurant we went to was in Mint and Olive. It's a restaurant in Uptown of Seattle. And I had pitched this restaurant. I pitched this idea to the guy. I'm like, hey, we'll give you a website and an app that you don't have. You don't have to pay commission. And he loved it. He signed up. And then within a month, he got no orders. 2 months, no orders. And we're like, okay, something's definitely wrong. And we thought that idea was shit because we had talked to a bunch of investors, advisors, other people in the industry that know this restaurant space really well. And every single person was like, don't do it. It's a waste of time. It's a zero-sum game. There's only limited amount of food that's eaten in America, across of America per day. So at the end of the day, everybody's fighting for the same customer. So there's no new market being created in the restaurant space. It took us a while to realize that. It took us a year of working on this to realize it. But it's been a fun journey this whole
Yeah.
time. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what was the most challenging part of running an app almost, which allows the restaurants to almost bridge the gap between the customers and having their app online?
Yeah. So the cool thing about Platter is each app that we deploy is specific to the restaurant. So if you went to a taco shop down the street, the taco shop would have its own app and its own website. And so a lot of it has actually, instead of being like a consumer app for consumers to download, we were just behind the scenes. And so a normal person that goes to this taco shop and order, they would just think that this is an app and website that the restaurant had built. And so all the engineering, all the focus that we did was not so that it's completely just for restaurants. We had to make it seem that it was on the restaurant's behalf for
Interesting.
customers.
But it is very generalized too. 'Cause you can
Yeah.
copy the template.
Yeah, so we kind of built this template and figured out a way where we can straight up deploy apps to app stores within an hour or two, and it was completely automated. And the templates were Um, I mean, I can say this now, but yeah, it was pretty standard template across all the apps. And how it would work is every restaurant would come in, all they would do is change the menu and upload an app. And it's the same app for every single restaurant, but it looks just different that you can't notice it. It's the same for the websites. All websites, the back end, behind the scenes is the same, but they all look different.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was the difference? Was there a difference in the middleware or with the front end?
Yeah, no, the front end. So their pictures, their logos, and recently, maybe a few months ago, we had kind of made this all AI generated. So a landing page we would take like where the restaurant is located, what is their cuisine, their top reviews, descriptions, and then form like a template based on like category. Like let's say at a restaurant at a bio or pictures or, and we took all this data from across the internet for that restaurant to build up like an AI website. And each website would have different content and different pictures, but all of them it would be a wireframe almost behind the
Yeah.
scenes. But the back end is all the same. It all went through Platter's back end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what AI tools did you guys use?
It was pretty standard. I mean, we used a little, mostly all of it is ChatGPT. So all of it is ChatGPT API behind the scenes. We
Yeah.
just feed in a bunch of review data for restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
and then we would feed in like location and go like, can you come up with a cool description for this restaurant? And they're a family business. So if we knew any like cool keywords for the restaurant, we would add it in. I think one of our restaurants is called Island Style. They're in Spokane, and the guy really he likes Hawaiian food and island style food. So we had to make sure that the description had to match like his style. So for those kind of scenarios, we had to like manually tweak that prompt a little bit.
Yeah.
But out of the other 90 restaurants that were using us had absolutely loved it. They did not care that this was AI generated.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said most of it was backed by AIs, and like you have automated most of like at least 80% of what you guys are doing.
Yeah, right now Platter is completely on autopilot, so we can work on our new idea. And we, outside of like basic customer support stuff, we had automated everything. At one point, we also used Vappy, which is a voice agent, AI voice agent. That's part of Y Combinator, and that's basically an API where you can call a AI salesman or AI person to speak on your behalf.
Yeah.
So we would actually use that to make sales calls too. So when we were trying to scale, we tried to see how we can scale with AI.
Yeah. And did that work?
It worked to some extent. So what we did was we told Vappy like, hey, this is our pitch that we normally give to restaurants. Pitch this and then answer any of the questions that might come based on this information that you know on Platter. And so we sent that. We made one API call and it was to 100 restaurants. And then I'd say like 90 of them had connection issues. So this is early on when Vappy was still kind of early. So a lot of them didn't work out, but there were about 10 restaurants that were almost it was actually surprising that they were convinced that this was a real person talking. And so we had called this restaurant in Seattle and we told them like, hey, we're a small company here from Bellevue. We're college students and we work on this startup where we help local restaurants with a website and app. The guy absolutely loved the mission. He told us to come in person for a demo, but had no idea that this was an AI talking the whole time. So
that's crazy, dude.
yeah.
That's awesome. And how many customers do you guys have? Do you have a count or statistics there?
Yeah, so it's around in terms of restaurants that use us is about 100 restaurants right now across the West Coast. We have some in Idaho and we have some in Oregon and Washington.
Yeah.
Even in like outskirts of Washington, Port Orchard and stuff.
Oh, wow.
And I'd say in terms of like users that have used us, I think around 15,000 to 20,000 unique people have used a Platter product at some point.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to jump from Platter. We can come back to Platter again, but I want to talk about. I've learned that you are very passionate about startups, and you have been doing some form of startups throughout your life.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that? Like, what was your interest and how you got into startup?
So I went to a school called Tesla STEM High School, and they're a school here in Washington, and they're known for just STEM career, so science, technology, engineering, math. And in that school, I had taken this entrepreneurship class, and the teacher would go like, "Oh, this is how you validate a product. This is how you build an MVP," and it was just like basics of entrepreneurship that they had taught in high school. I thought it was super cool, and I had I was like, okay, I have this cool idea I want to build. And this was in high school. It was a VR startup. That was my first startup. And it was part of the school project, but I ended up trying to market it as
Yeah.
well. And it was basically a lot of people that have mental disorders like ADHD, autism, stuff like that. They have trouble focusing class. And sometimes it could be because of temperature, it could be because of other people in the class, or it
That's
could
true.
even be lighting itself.
Right.
And so I was like, since this VR tech is pretty new, I was like, what if they would take tests or learn stuff in the classroom, but in an environment that they can control.
Mm.
So I had built this early prototype using Google Cardboard and Unity, where it would put you in this room and you could take a test. And obviously, it wasn't that good at the time, but it was great because I was trying to get people with ADHD and people with mental focus issues to put this on and take a test. At the time, technology wasn't great because people were like, "Oh, it's blurry, my head is hurting," but they liked the concept of it, and kind of just seeing that the potential, like, oh, people really like something that I had made, was like, I think that the startup stuff is pretty cool, and I should keep trying it.
Hmm.
So that's kind of where I started my interest in. But then I kind of went through the rabbit hole. I watched Silicon Valley. I love the show,
Yeah.
and yeah, it just my friends in around STEM as well. They're all entrepreneurs in some way.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. So it's bunch of like networking or like the friend circle at
yeah,
the same time, like your exhilaration that you got
yeah,
from building that app.
yeah,
That I can completely relate to that, man. Like the what you get out of accomplishing something,
yeah,
it's such a good boost to
yeah.
keep doing that.
Exactly.
It's like a reward mechanism, right?
Yeah.
So after apart from Platter, did you also work on any other startup ideas?
I did, yeah. So before Platter, the same team, we had built this company, or we started to work on this company a few years ago called Ponder. And we were the handful of few companies in all of America to get access to GPT-3 when it first was
Oh
in
wow.
beta. This was when there was no interface to interact. There was no ChatGPT. It was just an API.
Yeah, I
It
remember
was
that.
buggy and slow. And what we were trying to build was identifying fake reviews on Amazon.
Hmm.
And so Amazon has the problem at the time, right? And I think it still do, was there would be it would be a company that would sell like maybe car seats or something. And at the same time, there would be another company selling the same exact product. But one company would have thousands of reviews, like 20, 30,000 reviews, and the other one would have maybe 100 or 200. Although it's the same product, there was this like weird disconnect between both. And once we started to look into it, what we've seen was a lot of these companies have review farmers. So they would hire random people in other countries to go and boost their ratings and then bring down the other competitors' ratings down. So they would just go and put fake reviews, like thousands at a time on Amazon to bring the ranking down.
Yeah.
And so that the product is no longer Amazon's choice or best rating or whatever.
Yeah, that's a big problem in Google too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's there everywhere. It's there in Google reviews. It's there in Maps. It's all over the place. And so we were like, okay, there are these certain patterns that are in these sort of reviews that these people type, and we were like, how can we use AI to kind of detect this? And so the first iteration that what we had built was we would contact um, all different Amazon sellers and go like, hey, we had built this tool where you can do like general analysis on what people think of your product. And so we had used GPT-3 to get sentiment analysis, break down reviews, and it was almost this dashboard for um, Amazon sellers to kind of look at it and go like, oh, okay, my users really care about this feature, or my users don't like this way that the product is being packaged.
Hmm.
And we thought, okay, this could be a cool product where sellers would use it. And at the time, I think we had around 6 or 7 companies
Mhm.
trying to use it at the time. One of them was a pretty big one called Lark Bottle. They're
Yeah.
a water bottle company called Lark that did ultraviolet purification of water in the bottle.
Hmm.
And they're pretty big now.
Mm-hmm.
And but the biggest problem we could never figure out was churn. So they would make an account, it was free at the time, and they would do analysis on they would paste a link on their Amazon review. We would scrape all of Amazon reviews on that page, like it could be 20,000 reviews sometimes, and then we would have another computer that was like had a dedicated GPU locally that would analyze and create sentiment analysis reports and stuff like that. But after that, they just used it once. They used it once and then they never used it again. and we could never figure out how to get them to come back and keep using the product. But then that's kind of when I really started to learn like the actual importance of building a startup
Hmm.
is building what people want and just making them use it over time.
Yeah.
And we built sort of what people thought they wanted, but clearly not, because they eventually people stopped using it, and then it died out after a year.
Yeah.
But that kind of built the ramp to me building Platter.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Isn't that what they call it, product market fit? Like
Yep.
just knowing that.
Exactly.
And you said the term called churn.
Yeah.
Could you please explain to audience who don't understand that terminology a little bit?
Yeah. So churn is, in the most simple way, is we there. Imagine you had built a product and there are about 100 users using the product. You can expect that maybe 75% of them initially will stop using it after a day or two. And that could be for a variety of reasons. It could be because it doesn't have you don't have enough features, you haven't found product market fit, or you haven't found a product that they really like, or your idea just sucks. And so churn is basically that ratio of measuring that rate. Generally, like there's no optimal metric for churn. Like, how do you reduce it? Every single company product will have churn, but I think like trying to build a product to reduce that ratio, it will get you to build the perfect product.
So I kind of want to know. I know that you have two friends who you build these products
Yep.
with. I want to know like what goes in your mind when you are like actually building something. Like you are like, oh, you sit down in a room, or like, you know what, we gotta figure out an idea, and you guys come up with a really good idea for Platter and
Yep.
for the other company that you started. I know it didn't work out, but
Yeah.
how do you guys come up with ideas?
Yeah, it's this is funny because actually a couple maybe a month ago when we wanted to pivot from Platter, we had the same discussion and we're like, okay, we've built products before, we have talked to users, we know what to do. Let's come up with an idea. And so we got out a notebook and we started coming up with ideas on what to do. And we did that for a week. And then we're like, okay, this doesn't, you can't come up with ideas by sitting in a room and just writing down random ideas. And one of them, we were like, okay, it could be cool to like maybe work with funeral homes as a software product. Nobody's building software for funeral homes. And we would just come up with ideas like that where we weren't really passionate, but just for the sake of coming up with ideas. But I think the best way to really do it is just talk to people that you don't know. And I think when we were trying to pivot from Platter, or during Platter too, we had multiple pivots. Like the product that where we went with at the end of Platter was not what we started with.
Mhm.
But what causes those pivots and what causes you to go to like the right rabbit hole
Mhm.
is you just picking up the phone and calling somebody like, "Hey, I have this. Would you like to use it?
Mm.
I would buy your meal at your restaurant if you let me like show you how this works."
Yeah.
And just talking to different people will just give you a different perspective on whatever you're trying to build or you could build.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's possibly the best way to come up with an idea.
So, if I'm understanding this correctly, let's say if suppose you have an idea, instead of like mulling over it, you guys just dial a phone number and like, hey, I know you guys work in this field.
Yep. Yeah.
Are you
So
guys willing to use this idea? Or
exactly. Yeah. So when we were trying to pivot from Platter to the company now, we were like, okay, who do we contact? So we went on LinkedIn and then we looked at our connections and then we sent out each there are three of us, each one of us sent out like 100 messages um, to random people. Maybe like 10 people reply, and each of those 10 people are different careers, different use cases, just completely different life. And we had these maybe 10 or 11 really specific questions that we wanted to ask them that we would come up with, which we thought that would give us the best sort of output in terms of what idea we can get out of it.
yeah.
And so I had talked to state auditors, I had talked to construction people, talked to doctors. My coworkers, they did the same thing. They talked to family friends, accountants, investment bankers, and talking to all these people, we kind of realized that there are some problems, there are some random issues that are common between these people, and we're like, maybe there's an idea space that is there.
Hmm.
I think the coming up with an idea is hard itself, but I think the best way to position so that you can come up with a good idea is to be in a good idea space.
Hmm.
And Y Combinator does a good job of explaining what idea space is. And imagine in the entire timeline of a startup from start to end, very rarely the idea that you come up with in the beginning is the idea that you end up with. And so you're going to be pivoting maybe hundreds of times during this whole timeline. And it's best to be in a place where if you wanted to pivot, the idea space is still cool. So, for example, for Platter, we were in the restaurant tech industry.
Right.
In hindsight, the idea space is terrible. We know that it's a zero sum game. We know that there's so many players in the field. Restaurants are terrible to work with because they're non technical. And on the other side, the big giants like DoorDash, Uber, and Grubhub, they are just purely like taking the market on profit margins.
Yeah.
And so if we were to pivot, you would still be pivoting in the restaurant space. The idea space of itself is it's draining.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you were in something more popular or something growing much faster like AI, and you had an AI idea that you started with, but you kept pivoting, you're still in the AI idea space. So you could be working on something that is still cool, although it's not the idea that you started with. So I think that's probably the best way I would come up with an idea is just pick an idea space that you think are super interesting.
Yeah.
And start with something basic and go from there.
That's a really great way to put it.
Oh,
I mean, that does makes total sense to me. It like always bet the future, right? That's what they say. So
Exactly.
even though your idea specifically might fail, the industry won't, right? So you'll find some space in there. So idea space, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. And so apart from like ideas, once you guys are working on these startups, what are like the common challenges that you guys face that you want to share with the listeners?
Yeah, no, I mean there's quite a lot. So first thing is like, what do you prioritize what to work on?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing because you're like, okay, I have this idea. I want to build this cool sign up flow. I want to build this cool UI and maybe a cool checkout and all these like different components. But I think it's really easy for you to just get lost in your head with all these different stuff that you want to build. But at the end of the day, your goal of starting validating an idea is just build something so easy and simple that you can just send it to somebody and use it. And so when we were first building some ideas that outside of Platter, we would talk to a customer, a restaurant, or company, or whatever, and we'd be like, "Oh, do you have this issue, right? And what if we just fix this issue for you for free? Just use it. All we want is feedback." And they'd be like, "Sure, yeah, we have issues with automation all the time. Could you build something around that?" And so we were like, "Okay, that's cool." So we spent about 2 days using the most bare bones tech, drag and drop kind of stuff to come up with most easy to use automation UI.
Interesting.
There was no login, there was no sign up, there was no cool security. Everything was just in the front end. It was super shitty. But we had showed it to the guy and he's like, "Oh, this is great. This is good." And you take that feedback and then you build the product that you want to build.
So like making up building a proof of concept basically.
Yeah. And the proof of concept too, like the purpose of it is go from, I think the phrase that I use at work is promise to product. And you promise something to a customer and that's in their head and they don't really care about the product. They care more about if it solves the issue. And so what happens with a lot of founders is you promise something and then you take months to build the product and you go back and they lose interest. They're not interested. It's just you waited too long.
Yeah.
And so to reduce that, you just go, what is your issue? You spend a day or two, don't sleep, just build a product, give it to them the next day and just see the feedback. And if you keep iterating it, I promise you within maybe 3-4 weeks, you'll get a good product space to be in.
Yeah. And I've heard a lot from like people who are in the startup industry is that this concept of fast iteration. Just like doesn't matter what you're building, just have a fast iteration so that even if you fail fast and then you can get up and then do something else.
Exactly.
Fast.
Yeah. And well, definitely. I mean, I think the example I can give you is of Airbnb. And so when Airbnb first started, their biggest issue was like they had built this product where people can put their rentals up. But the problem is customers wouldn't trust the platform. So they had like maybe a few houses in San Francisco that were willing to put their living room or their room up for sale in Airbnb. And they would go to customers, they would try to market it, and they just realized that it's impossible to crack this. And so they tried everything. They tried newspapers, they tried random ad postings, everything. But the only way that they were able to iterate and get to almost 1,000 to a million users was what they would do is they would put the ad on Craigslist as a short-term rental. And so they would take whatever, let's say you're listing a house, an apartment on Airbnb. The founders themselves would manually take that post, put it on Craigslist, and go like short rental in San Francisco available. Craigslist already had giant traffic, so people would click on the Craigslist listing, and then it would route them to Airbnb. And so that's how they built this sort of trust. But they could not have done that if they just kept trying all the different sort of solutions or options that they had to get there. And they were able to scale to 1 million users that way. So
Interesting, very interesting. I want to switch gears and talk about AI. I know that you mentioned a lot about automation and AI. Could you tell us about like how long you have been in the AI space? Because I know you have been doing automation stuff, you and your friends.
Yeah.
Could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So realistically, the Ponder, the company that I'd started, like actual company, was an AI startup. So this was when GPT-3 beta was announced. Like GPT-2 had just come out, not publicly, just for research and stuff. And then they were on the plans of releasing the beta. And we were at the time we were like, okay, how can we use AI to be this? And this was in 2021. And we had just got it into Microsoft Startup Accelerator. They're not there anymore. But because of Microsoft contacts, we got this access to OpenAI beta key. And I honestly, when I first started, I was just like, what is going on? How is this possible? Like I just ask it a question and it just gives me an answer.
Yeah.
And what was crazy is you could ask it anything like, oh, how big is the earth? And Google would go like, oh, this article is there, or go here.
Yeah.
But then OpenAI would answer quickly. I think that was my first exposure to AI. So that was like maybe 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And then we had built this entire product from start to end using that AI. So we started putting up forms, and form is basically like documents, giant documents that you can give a model to get context. So for example, if for us it was reviews, the review document would be like, thousands of reviews. And so people could ask questions to the AI about those documents. And at the time, GPT had released forms where you can just give it context, and then you could ask GPT itself based on that context. And then after that, I kind of took a pause for maybe like a year, and I'd been really interested in infrastructure. And so I did a lot of infra stuff and scaling and how to really just handle high loads of traffic at a big company.
And by infrastructure, you're talking about cloud infrastructure?
Yeah, cloud infrastructure. And that was super interesting to me. And then now I'm back in the AI space. So honestly, on and off, like maybe 2-3 years, so not that long.
Yeah. And people talk about AI now, but machine learning and deep learning has been around.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time.
For a long time. And you talked about automation, right? I mean, automation is AI. And it's funny you mentioned that people talk about like, oh, well, now AI is a fancy stuff.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's about problem solving. You know, like, does your problem require automation? Is AI helping you solve a problem, right? That's what it comes down to. Like, for example, the Platter or the Amazon review app that you were building, that's what it was. You were not thinking like, oh, I want to use AI.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, at the time it came out, I wasn't like, oh, I have GPT-3, let me use it to build something. And I happened to land on Amazon reviews.
Right.
It's funny because I think the AI fatigue is there everywhere. All these companies have just been pushing AI down our throats in every single way. I see AI even in like random apps now. Like on Safeway app, I saw an AI the other day. I was just, what is going on?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Let's actually clear the cloud and talk about like really what's AI beneficial for humanity. So I'm pretty sure you are in that space and you have such a good friend circle who are in the startup world or using AI constantly. Where have you seen like AI benefiting or will benefit humans mostly?
Yeah, so in terms of benefiting right now, honestly, I've never seen it. We haven't seen technology like this get adopted by the normal user in like decades. Like the last time this has probably happened was the start of the mobile apps era, when Apple released the App Store, where people would be like, "Oh, let's download apps," and there was an app for everything. And I think we're seeing that the same with ChatGPT and Anthropic Claude, where we're seeing like the random front desk person that are at a hotel, and even doctors that doing massive research are using the same tool. So I think it's benefiting that way, where it's saving a lot of time that you would spend on researching. I think research, it's going to affect that in a big way. But I think the bigger, in terms of like goodness, outside of like just automation, removing jobs and stuff like that, I think the biggest benefit of AI is like, um, it's almost like a supercharging a human a little bit. And I had read this article about how DeepMind, Google, has using its AI to detect what genes in your DNA would result in diseases and stuff like that. And they have this 89% accuracy, where if these certain genomic patterns exist in your DNA,
Right.
you could end up having autism, or you could have, you're at a higher risk of Alzheimer's and stuff like that. That would not have been done, or could not have been done by a human just looking at data points.
Yeah.
That's like thousands and thousands of hours of AI analyzing the data.
Yeah.
I think in that way it will help humanity a lot. A lot of things will come from just ideas to product quicker.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, I think the people that execute will go away. I think the AI will be doing that. I think people would be really valued for the ideas that they come up with.
So many great points you mentioned. All I'm hearing is that, okay, people talk about like AI will take their jobs, but
Yep.
what you're talking about is it's going to be a really good augmented tool.
Yep.
Because what you're saying is it's going to enhance the productivity.
Yep.
And then it's going to enhance research work,
Yep.
like the DeepMind work and other researchers who are working on.
Yeah.
So I know you covered execution. So what you're saying is that people's ideas will be more valuable than the execution themselves.
Yeah.
And so there's this concept of AI agents, right? Agentic workflow.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you're talking about those.
Yep.
And if you can explain in your definition what is AI agents and how you are seeing it used, or it will be used.
Yeah, I'll give it a long one on this one.
Sure.
And so if we kind of look back in history of computer sciences in general, when we write code, it started with operations. So go like 2 + 2, compute, get a return of an answer. And then the next iteration was like conditionals and logic, where we would have like, oh, if the user does this, implement this program, or do that, or do this. And then we had just cloud and infrastructure, and where we could have multiple processes happening in the background and threading and stuff like that. And and a lot of this so far has just been like human development. Human is writing the code, human is running it, human is the one using it at the end of the day. I think the benefit of agents comes in is, let's say you are trying to build a software startup, and you're really good at customer support, you're really good at sales, but you just cannot build products. You just don't know, but you have this really cool idea. Where the agents come in is, the agents are almost like replacing those other operations and processes that are happening behind the scenes with itself. And so imagine if you were building a software startup, and then you had multiple agents, in a way where we would have multiple different logics running on its own mind, in a way. And so if you had a customer support with an idea, and so customer support sent you, oh, the customer doesn't like this button, this has issues with it, try to make it follow this logic instead. You as an engineer would go and build it, figure it out, whatever. But I think where agents come in is, that task would be given to the agent, and the agent is just in this loop of trying to figure out what to build, how to implement it, and build it itself. So the humans are no longer writing logic for the agent. The agent is doing that himself.
Right.
And so I think this would help teams get more leaner, and they'll be faster to build from just idea to product.
Okay, so we touch base on that. There's not going to be a lot of jobs lost, but what I'm hearing from you is there's going to be a lot of job displacements in the software engineering and software tech world. Is that true?
I think I think that's what everybody says now, but I think it's going to affect HR, sales, business, all that equally.
I see.
I think the concept, I mean, I'm going to get pushback on this, but I think the concept of a SaaS company becoming 10 to 20 billion dollars in the near future is going to go away. I think what will happen is going to be many small teams, maybe 10-person people, 5-person teams that are able to build 100 million, $200 million SaaS companies, using AI. I think the next, I can't think of it, like Atlassian, I think is a good, though the guys who made Jira and Confluence and all these different tools, productivity tools, Google Drive. I think those kind of like tools are companies that build something like that where it's just purely software. And them being on the stock market or becoming billions of dollars, I think will not exist in the future.
Really?
Yeah.
And could you elaborate on that? Why do you say that?
Yeah, I think, well, the thing is, right now, any person it can become an entrepreneur and build a product just from whatever they have in their head.
Right.
And if we just kind of look at this approach across the all of the United States or across the world, and let's say there was a company like Zoom that just did video conferencing. But at the same time, Zoom is being built in America and it's localized and they're built in San Francisco. But somebody wanted to use video conferencing in Indonesia, they would have to contact Zoom and they would have to get a license. But in the near future, they might be college students in Indonesia that could be like, "Can you build me a video conferencing app?" And they end up becoming Indonesia's video conferencing app. And so this what I think what AI is going to do is localize all these like giant entities that have this talent of infrastructure, talent and software
Mhm.
and just put them across the world. I think anybody can build a Zoom, anybody can build Atlassian.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So basically, software will be in abundance, but it will be personalized, localized,
Yeah.
and okay. That makes sense to me. So now I'm understanding what you're talking about. AI agents is a lot of execution related tasks which are mundane, tasks which requires you to do like a lot of logic, a lot of coding, a lot of like background, like purchasing tickets, for example.
Yeah.
Those things can be automated. Those things can go away, so you will require more in a way, do you say that we have to rely more on our imaginative and visionistic capabilities rather than the logical part?
Yeah, I think this kind of goes towards like what AGI could be. And I think right now humans are creative. And I don't mean creative as in like you can draw or you can come up with a cool animation. I mean like just looking at problems, looking at things around your world and cap or analyzing your entire worldview and then coming up with an idea.
Mhm.
And then talking to customers and iterating on that idea and building a product. I think that is our biggest like advantage that we will have for a long time. The concept of you sitting down and writing code for weeks and months to come up with an MVP, it's it in reality, in terms of efficiency, it doesn't make sense. Like if you had an idea, it should be in the hands of customers tomorrow.
Mm.
It should not take that long to come up
Yes.
with it. And so, yeah, I think you're right. I think that's where it's going.
So I have two questions. My first question is, I get what you're saying, that building an MVP has become much more easier. Prototyping has become much more faster. But that's prototyping is one thing, and building a startup is completely
I
a
agree.
new ball game. But that's the thing, right? Like how do you see them that becoming? Because what you are saying is that there should be a lot of more startups now,
Yeah.
given the fact that there's not going to be a bigger software or SaaS companies.
Yeah. I mean, you're right, 100%. I think there's three of us right now, and we were able to scale to 100 restaurants for Platter. And the idea that we've kind of thrown out is like, okay, we kind of want an assistant. An assistant would be nice to like handle meetings, just handle our scheduling, priority, and tasks. And or a salesperson would be great. All these like random tasks, there are agents there that do it, but they're not great. They're not humans. But as an entrepreneur, as a founder, if an AI agent that I can pay 20 bucks a month can do 80% of a task
Hmm.
of a front desk assistant, I would rather do that than hire somebody, train them, speak to them, and just spend a month onboarding it, even when I don't have enough money to do that. So if as a founder, if you have tools that can do certain roles 80% and you just go in and fill in that 20% gap, that would make your life as a founder more efficient as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to deal with people's problems.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's true. You don't have to pay insurance and
Oh, dude,
yeah.
insurance is pretty heavy. I actually, one of my friend, he is a serial entrepreneur, and he says that's what he says is like, well, just onboarding is nothing.
Yeah.
Like it takes almost 25 to 50% insurance,
Yep.
which people don't even think about when they hire people.
Yeah. And there's taxes
yeah.
and there's just all sorts of stuff that add up. And there's,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna sound crazy, but PTO, what did they take time off? This AI is working for $20 a month,
Shit.
24/7. Like this is a great deal.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I
yeah,
mean, exactly. Like think of people who are in the capitalistic, I guess industry. I don't want to say mindset because
yeah,
everybody have that some form. But the startup, like people who are working in startup, don't have as much money to spend.
yeah,
So they would rather save that and then build like those agentic workflows,
exactly.
assistants
Yeah,
that can do their operation.
yeah. I think like down the line, I don't think the jobs would go away. I think a lot of the times the humans will be helping improve these agentic
Yeah.
workflows or helping just train models better. I had this discussion recently with a guy pretty high up at Microsoft, and the conversation was, let's say in the future, like 5, 10 years from now, Claude, Anthropic, Hugging Face, all the AI companies have their own proprietary model, like
Hmm.
4.0 or O3 or whatever.
Hmm.
At that stage, all the models are kind of the same. They're probably performing at the same level, and it's just who has the bigger data center, and it's just a
Hmm.
competition like that.
Hmm.
So I think at that stage, it just becomes what quality, what output can you get from the data that you have? So how can you improve data quality when you're training these models?
Hmm.
So I think what will end up happening is companies like OpenAI and Anthropic will hire movie directors, sound producers, maybe chefs, maybe one day, and engineers. And all they would be doing is creating things out of their mind or replicating things or building products purely for the AI itself.
Hmm.
And so we're starting to see a lot of these newer AI companies that are able to match on par with some of the open source models
Hmm.
with a far less data because the data is just more clean, it's accurate, and it's just almost like human verified.
Hmm.
And so what OpenAI does is they basically scan all of the internet and then they build a model on that. But most of the internet is shit. It's like most of it is wrong. There could be so many random biases that could go on into
Hmm.
this. So if you were to, let's say, build models purely for software engineers, and you went and got the code of 100 best meta engineers, 100 best NVIDIA engineers, 100 best Google engineers, and all they did was write code for your model, you will start to see the model perform far better than OpenAI's large language model for coding. And I think all these bigger AI companies are going to end up doing that. We're already starting to see OpenAI starting to hire music directors and video content creators that are purely creating content to train the
Hmm.
model itself.
Interesting. Because what you are saying is basically you're talking roughly about synthetic data.
Yeah.
Because the data that is available online, although there is abundance of data,
Hmm.
but that data you have to you manually remove a lot of like unclean stuff, and then you have to clean it, which removes like the number of data that you have
Yep.
far. So what you're saying is that with the AI generated features now that we're getting, these content creators will be used in the big corporations to create data.
Yeah, I
And
think like if you were a movie director, maybe half of your job is creating clips and shots specifically for the AI to train.
so, oh,
Um,
I see.
yeah.
I was literally interviewing one of our guests who is an AI filmmaker,
Okay.
and he was talking about like how much it's just prompting it, like, and it's a game, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Prompting sucks, to be honest. I
Yeah.
mean, it's in a way it's a skill, and they are trying to improve that. But I think the way you can really just improve it is better data, not more. It's just better quality data that needs to be in the model.
Okay. So, okay, you talk about prompting. I want to know, like, for people, like a lot of my listeners are in different industries, and they're very curious and want to learn about AI. And a lot of people talk about prompt engineering, which
Hmm.
I think is very commonplace now, and people have been experimenting, like you said, right? People who are doctors, people who are like in the restaurants
Hmm.
business, or even like clerk, anybody who's using their work, they are trying to use it some sort of prompt engineering. So they are getting relatively better than maybe last year. But apart from prompt engineering, what else people should be learning to, have an edge towards like building like their AI skill?
Yeah. So outside of prompt engineering, outside using the main tools, there are a lot of like really cool other software startups that are in the AI space. I don't. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there are some cool ones where you can just get better. So if you're a photo editor, there's this company that combines two images together and makes this really cool edit. And it's an AI. It's similar to Stable Diffusion, but let's say you had a picture of a tree and a picture of a human. You would combine these two, and it would be this cool shadow of a human in front of the tree. And that would take you hours to spend time on Photoshop, and you cannot do that using ChatGPT and prompting. So there are these like very niche software companies that are out there. Another one is 11 Labs. You probably have seen some of their content. Basically, it would record your voice, and then you can, once it analyzes your voice, you can put it on Obama, and then Obama starts sounding like you. And although it might seem funny, but if you are an audio editor and let's say somebody had mistakenly said a word wrong, or there were typos while they were speaking, or let's say you just wanted to cut it and you want to edit their voice, you had hours of their footage, or maybe an hour like right now.
Yeah.
You could go in and make me say stuff that I didn't mean to say or didn't intend to. This could help filmmaking with better cuts and as well. So, yeah.
Believe it or not, that actually is already been happening. There's a software called Descript. I don't
Okay.
know if you know about that.
Okay.
And there is a AI tool. I do a lot of like video editing.
Okay.
And so one of their feature is that I can select, for example, multiple speakers. So I
Okay.
can select you and I can select me, and then I can associate a voice
Okay. Cool.
of that speaker.
Okay.
And I just replace one word. Let's say, suppose you said wrong in that podcast. I'll just replace that word with the right word.
Yep.
And then you won't even realize.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, you don't have to do another cut. You don't have to invite me over to do it again. And I think they tried to do this with Marvel movies too. But this was so when Henry Cavill, Superman, the guy who used to play Superman, when he was shooting like Batman versus Superman or something like that, one of those movies, he had a mustache, but for the movie Superman, he doesn't wear a mustache, but he couldn't shave it off because he was shooting another movie.
Oh.
So they had to use AI tools to straight up remove the mustache during different cuts and frames.
Yeah.
Although it wasn't great, but I'm sure now if they did it, it would have been great.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend the other day, and you know how you have the B rolls in movies. All these B rolls right now. I mean, people use like drones. Before, people used to use helicopters and stuff to get this B roll.
Yeah.
Now people have started using drones, which cut the cost of production so much.
Yep.
But now they don't even have to have cost of drone.
Yeah, exactly. And
AI can generate that,
Yeah.
and so realistically.
Yeah. And so if you are a passionate movie director or you loved movie directing, you realistically don't need to go to Hollywood and maybe get lucky and spend all your time trying to get somebody to notice you. You shoot a movie in your house, in your apartment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if it's a good plot, then people will watch it.
Yeah, that's exactly what my friend who is an AI filmmaker said. Exactly the same
Okay,
thing.
cool.
Because that will, because a lot of people have ideas, they want to make their own movies,
Yeah.
and they cannot
Exactly.
because it's expensive, right?
Yeah.
And so now they have an opportunity.
Yep.
Of course, it might take a little bit time to just figure out this prompting, at the same time use different AI tools
Yeah.
to build it, and you still have to do some sort of filming and some sort of editing, but you can get there faster.
Yeah. 100%.
So I know you also talked about AGI.
Mhm.
I want to ask, and people have their own definitions of AGI.
Yes,
What's your definition of AGI, and how long do you think we have till we reach AGI?
Yeah, I think everybody has their own definition, and Sam Altman also has his own. So I think like the better way to answer this is there's two types of thinking. System thinking. There's type 1 and type 2. And system 1 thinking is like if I go 2 + 2, 4. That's quick. That's fast.
Yeah.
You can search that on Google. You'll get an answer quick.
Mhm.
System 2 is like what is 2 to the power of 40 minus 10. Exactly.
I don't know.
So yeah, you're taking time to go back and think, and maybe you write it on paper, maybe use a calculator, and this is where that AI stuff is right now. And I think that ChatGPT is trying to mimic the system 2 thinking. So if you ask it like, oh, generate me this product that has these features with this idea and this frame, you as an engineer can't just spit it out and start coding it. You need some time to think. And I think OpenAI with their O3 model is trying to mimic that right now. So we're seeing like O3 take its time, taking like O3 is their new model.
Right,
It's
right.
like hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend to run the model. But it's trying to understand that and break down the step and simulate what a human would do. So I think AGI would be, end goal would be just like how you were able to think, as in like you're like, okay, 2 to the power of 10. That means 2 is being multiplied by itself 10 times, and I have to add this. Just like that, an AI has to think in that way to get to close to what AGI is in my head. Right now, what AI is doing is it's mapping out what could be the next possible sequence in a bunch of sequences to get to the answer. So if you ask it to write a word or write an essay or write a sentence, it's not actually thinking. It doesn't actually understand what the word is. It just knows what word comes after the next one. And humans don't think like that. When I'm speaking to you right now, I'm not thinking of all the other letters and languages and words and all of English to come up with what I'm about to say. So until the AI can do that, I think we're not near AGI yet.
You're talking about the abstract thinking, right? Because we can do pattern recognition, which AI can do really good pattern recognition, but they cannot like relate one idea to another. Like almost like left brain cannot talk to the right brain. Right brain cannot talk left, likewise.
Yeah. And this is there's this guy called David Dutch, and he's a Deutscher. He's a European physicist, and he has really good like physics like research papers and stuff. But he talks about just AGI, and talks about, and his take on AGI is we'll never build it, and his reasoning is on the side of creativity. And it's like, when I say creativity, not like, oh, create like a cool emoji or picture or something. He's talking about the actual concept of looking around the world and coming up with an idea based on how you perceive the world. I think he says that is so human that we can never end up doing that. And his sort of explanation was, let's say if aliens were watching us from space, right? And they've been watching us from start to end of human society. They would understand if somebody was given an award for being a Nobel Prize winner, they'd be like, okay, they won a Nobel Prize winner because they won this award and that award. So in a way, the aliens have to know quite literally everything about humans. Like me talking to you right now. If an alien just came up and saw us from space, they'd be like, who are these two people?
Right.
But if they had studied us from the start to end, they'd be like, okay, this guy reached out on LinkedIn, and then I was like, okay, let's hang out. We meet in person, and we're having this podcast.
Right.
I think this understanding of these events can only, if AGI can understand that, I think that's when like the doom of humanity would happen. I think that's when we would have like the end of all of AI, where it understands everything, all sequence of events.
Do you really think that AI will supersede, like in terms of it's going to be a doomsday? I mean, because there's so many good possibilities, and if you like if you hear Elon Musk say about 80-20, right? He was thinking like 80% AI will be good and 20% bad, and now he has increased his probability to 90%. So
yeah.
So
I don't know the percentage. There's this doomsday clock that scientists have, and it's basically like, if they think the world is about to end, if they put the clock at 12 o'clock at midnight, that means the world is going to end. And so their prediction is like World War II, also all these records. And right now the clock is at like 11:58 or something like that. So we have 2 more minutes apparently to scientists that the world will end.
Really?
As in like World War III might break out, there might be a nuclear outbreak or whatever. They moved the clock a little bit during this Ukraine crisis.
I see.
And I think the percentages and the ratios all these people do is just there to make the normal person be scared or understand the complexity of the situation. But in reality, I don't think any of it matters. I think if it happens, it happens. And if OpenAI is actively trying to do that, and they will probably get there. Nobody's stopping them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah, and it's hard to predict, man. I mean, like it's beyond human comprehension at this point. Of course, Sam Altman might know, but maybe he doesn't even know, right? I mean, people talk about AGI, then there's an ASI, which I know Eli and like one of the chief scientists at OpenAI is actively working on, which is even beyond AGI, right?
Yeah.
So who knows? And I have a theory wherein AI won't take over us. It's almost like AI will be part of us.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm seeing most of it. Human is intelligent enough. They are not stupid enough to just give everything that we have collected over this consciousness to just like, oh well, AI here
Yeah.
defeat us, you
No,
know.
no, 100%. I think AI will be if we have achieved AGI, the answer is if the AI can be disobedient to us.
Right.
And right now, if you ask ChatGPT, whatever it is, it will give you an answer.
Mm-hmm.
But if ChatGPT goes like, no, I'm not answering that. I think this is the wrong question. You should ask this instead.
Yeah.
Or do this instead. I think that's when we're on the track of going
So then,
towards AGI.
when I asked you the question of how long it's going to be till AGI, I guess I was asking the wrong question, because what you are saying is that it's not the right question to ask how long is going to be till we reach AGI. It's more of the question of how well we have to make these AI tools and systems
Yeah.
to not like, I don't want to say behave,
Yeah.
but almost like set those safe guardrails
Mhm.
so that they don't reach
Yeah.
to that doom's
No,
condition.
I think I strongly believe that everything is in our control. Like what we have in this entire world, we can use that to do anything. We've built AI, we've built penicillin when it first started, we have some sort of cancer cures, all of this that we have figured out and built. So I think we will be the ones who build AGI.
That's true.
And I
Yeah.
don't think AI will come in and be a black box and solve the issue. And if the AI takes over, then we will be the ones to take it down.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, I have two more questions for you. I know I asked how long is AGI, but how about like robotics? When do you think robotics will be very commonplace and people will be using in everyday scenarios?
Yeah, no, I'm actually very excited about this space. I think just the concept of like, oh, this person could go walk my dog, or this person can go clean my house for me. We're already kind of seeing like mini applications, like we have Roombas, we have Boston Dynamics that
Yeah.
Hyundai has acquired. And so all these like random companies are doing very niche things. So I think we're maybe like 5 years out before we start to see like you could buy an AI bot for yourself and have in the house. But the problem with all the hardware stuff is like energy, right? At the end of the day, these models are super heavy. Like Oracle just is now spending like over $1 billion to, or 100 billion or something crazy amount to build one of the largest AI data centers ever. Their nuclear reactors are powering this only for a chat UI interface. Imagine how much energy you need
Crazy.
for a simple robot to walk around your house and have all these different computations.
For a chat interface, they're building that?
Well, I mean, as in for basically for ChatGPT, right?
Gotcha.
It's just infrastructure for the AI companies.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have a bigger plans in that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Because once they have built it, then it's easier to kind of multiply.
They very you know that Blackwell chips, the GPU Blackwell.
Mhm.
They're the $1 million chip that Nvidia has released, and that's like all the AI stuff. Like it, Elon Musk, Sam Altman, all these guys are fighting for Blackwell chips. So this new data center, there's a shortage of them because everybody's buying them quickly.
Mhm.
So Oracle is building this giant data center for these Blackwell chips.
Mhm.
And so at the end of the day, Blackwell chips is going to be used by OpenAI or something, or another
Yeah.
company that's dealing with these models. So until we figure out some sort of energy solution for these humanoid robots that walk around,
Yeah.
I don't think we'll get there yet.
Yeah.
But we might be closer than we think we are.
Fascinating, man.
Yeah.
We still have, I know that we talked about doing the part two, but I do have a last question for you for the to end the call today.
Sure.
What are you most excited about in 2025 in terms of AI, AI tools, or anything that you feel like you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, no, I think if you are a person that's using AI tools right now, or just a founder or anybody who's playing out with AI tools, and you're like, oh, this is not that good. Actually, this is not solving my problem. I think we're in a space where if you wait 3 months, it'll be fixed. These models are being like fixed so fast, being iterated so fast, where the if you have a problem, just waiting 3 months might just end up solving it without you writing more code or more dealing with more stuff. So I think 2025, 2026, it's going to be a crazy year for everybody trying to build a tech startup. You have the power to do anything at this point. So yeah, take that how you will.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
That this was an awesome discussion, Abhi.
Cool.
Thanks a lot for coming to the show. I have learned a lot, and we are doing a part two.
Yes,
Sure.
of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for joining, everyone. I hope you guys got some valuable things out of the podcast. Stay tuned for some more episodes.
Cool.
Thank you.